I wanted to do a video specifically for a lost loved one of mine. His name was Sam. He was a border collie, and I think he very much so deserves his own video and a little bit of, I guess, peace of mind. I'm not sure that's quite the right wording I'm looking for, but I want to do something special for him. I've been trying to do something like ultimately special for my old Sam dog for a lot of years since I lost him. Now, Sam was absolutely amazing in every way. That's like the simplest way to put it. But he was my best friend because of the fact that I was never allowed to have a social life. I wasn't allowed to have friends. Nothing like that. I wasn't really allowed to talk to anyone other than Grandpa. I became very, very attached to animals. And Sam was like the first one. And he would follow me everywhere. Whether I was on foot, on a three-wheeler, four-wheeler, on my horse, on either of the horses, I should say, didn't matter. If I was going somewhere or doing something, Sam was right there with me all the time. He was such a good boy. And he had these big brown eyes just to die for. Every morning that I would go outside and to old Sam, he'd come running up to me and howling and, basically giving me this good morning, howl. And it was just, oh man, I wish that I had the capability at that time in my life to record the sound of his howl when he would come say good morning to me, and just take a video of him like getting all excited and jumping around and his tail's all wagging everywhere, his butt's just going crazy because he's wagging his tail so much, and you could just tell that he was so happy to see me every morning. And we'd take off and go up the mountain and go do whatever I was gonna do for the day. But he was my best friend for a long stretch of time, for several years. And then one day, this picture that you're seeing right now, actually, I had a bad accident with my horse, with my Mustang. I had went to jump over a pile of sticks, kind of like what you can see right directly behind this log in this picture. And I had a pile of sticks like that. I was trying to make a jump for the horse because I was practicing, rodeo type stuff. And, well, the horse jumped a little too soon, and she got her hoof caught, and she ended up sliding out in the mud about 5 feet. And I was holding onto her neck. I was riding bareback. I was 15 at the time, and I was holding on to her around her neck the best I could, basically just fight or flight in that moment kind of reaction that I was having. So she did a somersault out in the mud, and I landed on my left shoulder wrong and ended up breaking my collarbone and didn't know it, which that's probably going to be in a different video to explain all of that, because I want to try to stay on track here. But I called Sam over to me, and right in this picture that you're looking at now, that I'm laying on top of that log, that's where I was laying at when I called Sam over to me, and he came and laid with me until my grandpa had actually just managed to show up right in the nick of time and helps me get down the mountain, down to the house. But right here, where I'm laying on this log, I'm sorry to get emotional, but that's where Sam is now. I had to bury him years later. after my accident, he had an accident of his own. I'll try to keep this as straight as I possibly can, because my brain doesn't work as well as everyone else's, so it's hard for me to keep my thoughts organized and stay on track here, so I'll try my best. But my sister was sitting out in her car one day, had the car running. She was just sitting there talking to Grandpa, because he was standing on that side of her car talking to her before she took off. And she went to back up and didn't realize that Sam was laying right behind her. Sam is getting old at this point. He's kind of going deaf and blind a little bit, and he was not aware that the car started moving, and she ran right over him completely on accident and ended up breaking back his both of his back legs and probably part of his spine. So we kept him on the front porch of the house for a short while, and I stayed there with him. I laid with him every day that he was there, and I tried to feed him. He couldn't eat. He could drink a little bit, but he lost all control of his bowels and his bladder, so everything just came out right where he was laying. And after a couple of days, I had enough. I was 16 at the time. I had just gotten my learner's permit to drive. I didn't even have my license yet. I went to go get dressed to go take Sam into the vet to have anything done to help him out. And when I came back out of my bedroom, I heard the four-wheeler start up, and Grandpa never takes off on the four-wheeler without telling me where he's going, so that was kind of weird. So I went up to the barn, because that's where I heard the four-wheeler go to, and Sam was gone. So I went up to the barn, and I stood behind the tractor. This part is kind of hard for me to spit out, so bear with me. But I stood behind the big tractor, kind of a little ways away from the barn, and I watched everything. I stood there in just complete shock, like paralysis kind of shock, as I watched Grandpa grab his sledgehammer, and he stood there and looked at Sam for a second, and then finally swung his hammer, and Sam let out this howl that I cannot unhear. It's such a harrowing sound. I don't know how else to describe it. But he lifted up his back leg, one of his broken back legs, and I lost it. I fucking screamed at the top of my lungs, "Grandpa, just do something, make it stop." So Grandpa had finally swung the hammer again and hit Sam again on the head, and this time the second hit finally killed him. But just the fact that I watched my best friend have the most gruesome, horrifying death that I have seen yet, and this is not the first one that I've seen. It is by far the scariest. It's been the one that has haunted me the most and has had the most lasting effects on me, especially emotionally. But after that, in this picture that you're seeing, that's where I had Grandpa take Sam up there with the tractor and put him on the ground and dig up a hole with the tractor so that I could bury him. So we buried him there, and I put that log there because that's where I laid, and Sam came and laid with me when I broke my collarbone. And this picture was actually taken several years later, after I left home, after growing up, when my other half that I'm with now, he flew over here from Ohio to Oregon, across the U.S., his first flight over here. He stayed over here for a week, and we went out back to the place where I grew up because I wanted to show him And I went to say my last goodbyes and go be with Sam one more time before I may never go back. And I miss Sam so much. I would give almost anything if it meant I could just see him again and just to protect him from what happened. But that's Sam. That's his spot. That's his log. And this area that you're seeing is what I called the saddle of the mountain. So in any other videos that you may watch of mine, if I mention the saddle, this is part of that area because it looks like a saddle shape on top of our mountain. God, I miss Sam so much.